magic of the Sunstone, you're tuned into the Jewel Riders Archive.
Hey Jewel fans, this is Chris from the Jewel Riders Archive. We are here today with part 2 of our Western Magical Girls podcast. And joining me today again are Queen of the Fandom, Stormy, also known as Cupcake Doll, and currently on Tumblr at Moonlight Reel. And also joining us is Alex, the creator behind Paper Doll Prince. Glad to have you both here. Today we are picking up from where we last left off. Unfortunately, like almost a year ago. Not intentional, that long of a break. But
It's been a long year.
Yeah, no kidding. No kidding. So last time we talked about magical girl properties from the 80s specifically. Today we're going to start talking about magical girl properties from the 90s and beyond. So the first one I wanted to talk with you guys about is the 1995 Saban production Tenko and the Guardians of the Magic. This is a show. Now, stop me if you've heard this before. A princess, new to a world of magic and a student of a great magician, must lead a team to find missing jewels scattered from an enchanted box by a jealous rival. Does this sound familiar at all as possibly the plot of Jewel Riders?
1995, they had one plot line.
There was only one choice you could have. So this is based on the, at that time, I guess, popular stage magician Princess Tenko. The series follows her basically animated counterpart who trains in real magic to recover the missing Starfire gems, which were scattered across the world after the evil twins Jana and Jason tried to seize the magic for themselves. Tenko is assisted by 3 guardians, Bolt, Hawk, and Steel, the trainee guardian Allie, and the animal trainer Shanti in their request to recover the missing Starfire gems. So, I have to say, as a child, for a hot minute, I actually liked this series better than Jewel Riders. Wow. I know that sounds a little heretical to say now, but I don't know. There was something about the like urban fantasy of it that really spoke to me. I don't know. I really liked it. Maybe it's because I had come fresh off of loving Gargoyles the year before, and this is like another urban fantasy show. But
yes, we should say Tenko takes place in the real world.
Yes.
Not
Tenko
in a fantasy realm. Tenko is a traveling stage magician in our world who travels all over to different countries searching for the Starfire gems.
Right. It's like her stage show is like the cover basically for her to find the magical jewels. And I have to say, like, this show is only 13 episodes, which is quite sad.
Yeah, they didn't get to go very far into
No.
the lore or the story.
And sadly, it also ends on a cliffhanger. So,
yeah.
We don't know what happens to the characters in the end. If anybody out there wants to write a fic to finish it, please let me know.
And I think some fans probably didn't even get to see all 13. Like Jewel Riders, Tenko was shown at strange hours that you might have had to set your VCR for. And yes. I know I didn't see the last few episodes, so they may not have even been shown on television at all.
I want to say it was like 7 o'clock on a Sunday morning that it aired where I lived.
Nope.
So, yeah, good luck if you wanted to watch it.
I mean, I'm not even sure that all the episodes are available now either, because, like, I'm looking and it says that, like, not all of them are even available.
Actually, funny you should mention
that. Do you have some of them?
we actually just... So, Ronnie and I were looking through our childhood VCR recording tapes of cartoons, and we found one of the missing episodes of Tenko on there.
Oh my gosh.
So
Ow.
it's kind
Which
of
episode is it?
It is Will the Real Princess Tenko Please Stand Up?
Oh, that's awesome.
So if you want to watch something that was recorded on my childhood television and looks like crap, you can.
That's awesome. Yeah, no, I would love to see that because there are a few that are missing, it looks like.
And I know a fan who at this point would like to remain anonymous reached out with what I think is the last missing episode.
Oh,
So the
wow.
archive should have all of the Tenko episodes now.
Wow.
Oh my gosh. That's awesome.
So
Yes.
hopefully it is complete now.
That's awesome. Which episode was the last one that was missing? Do you remember?
It might have been...
Cry Havoc?
No, I think it was the Magic Skates, episode 12.
The Magic Skates. Okay.
The one where Allie gets her Starfire gem.
Oh my gosh.
I believe that was the last episode that was missing. So I'm almost sure that all 13 are now finally available to be seen
Oh,
in the wild world of the internet.
that's awesome.
So yeah, we're like I don't know, the Jewel Riders Archive was just sort of like, here, we're going to take Tenko because nobody else wants it.
Yeah,
Aw.
there are no fan pages. I don't know that there's any fan fiction. It's a show that kind of sank without a trace, which is a shame because it is good.
There are
Yeah,
some
there's a
really
lot of
good
great
ideas there.
Yeah.
Yeah, I agree. There's a lot of really great stuff about Tenko. I mean, I know that it probably, like, if people watched it today, there would be, like, some divisive opinions on, like, do they like the live action segments at the end or do they not like
I
them?
was going to ask you guys how you feel about them.
I personally really like them.
I like that in them, especially the teach-a-trick ones,
Yeah.
Princess Tenko comes across as, like, a really grinny Japanese idol.
Yes.
Which I think she basically is.
She basically is. I think she started her career as an idol singer,
Mm.
which, I mean, if you watch the stage stuff that she does for her tricks, it's very Japanese idol
Aw.
looking, just without the music, which is really fun.
It
I
is
was
super
just reading her Wikipedia, and it lists her with another name under which she was a singer.
Is it
Oh.
Mariko Itakura?
No, it is. Here I'm missing up our flow. She debuted as a singer-magician under the stage name of Mari Asakaze.
Okay.
Yeah.
So she has been a singer, or a singer-magician, which is basically an idol,
Yes.
at points in her life before she became the famous Princess Tenko, the real one.
Yes.
I mean, it's
We
crazy
should get her
to
on this
think.
podcast.
Yeah.
That would be a scoop, I have to say. I would love to talk to her in real life. Like, we were just talking before recording, like, what is she doing now? And I was saying the last time I saw the real Princess Tenko on anything was a documentary about a trunk that might have been owned by Marilyn Monroe that she was, like, purchasing. So I guess she likes Marilyn Monroe a lot.
I mean, it makes sense. Idolizing such a classic star.
Yeah. I think the only thing I don't like about the live action segments is that they shave off precious minutes of an animated episode.
Yeah.
And these episodes are like a runaway train pacing. They're so fast. It's like no time for emotions, no time for anything. Like, you've got to get here and fight these things and
I mean, I feel like
gems.
it was definitely like a cost saving measure for Saban, I would think, because like
I'm
I'm sure like these weren't originally recorded for Saban. It doesn't seem like it because of the dubbing over top of her.
Yes.
Like, I'm sure these were taken from like a Japanese like segment of some kind. And they were just like, let's shave off a couple minutes of animation and save a lot of money.
Yeah. You're probably right, because this is Saban, and his whole shtick was taking pre-used footage and finding new ways to use it, a la Power Rangers.
Yeah, so like the dubbing is very much like early Godzilla.
Yeah, she talks and the mouth does not match the
No, it doesn't. It's just like her mouth stops moving, but like we keep hearing things.
But the magic is still in you, as she says, which is her catchphrase.
She's just smiling, and they say that the magic is still in you, and it's like she's just smiling. Yeah,
yeah, it makes me laugh. It always makes me laugh. So Tenko, I watched 3 episodes to refresh myself for this show. The first one was Diamond in the Rough, episode 3. The second one was Strong Medicine, Strong Magic, episode 4. And number 6, which was my favorite of the ones I watched, was Trust and Betrayal. Episode 6 it basically centered on Jana and Jason, where Jason gets injured and Jana brings him to be healed in the Tenko box. Which is the magical box that holds all of the Starfire gems and is also a portal to other realities, basically. And
it's a big box. It's like a wardrobe.
It's a wardrobe-sized box.
You could get to Narnia through it.
It looks like you could go into an elevator inside of it. But I liked that one because it had some more character interactions, and there was always a little bit of a sort of attraction between Tenko and Jason, which I wish the series would have expanded on a little more, because, if you're in love with your enemy, there's a good source of drama that was never unfortunately explored. But the series had no room to explore any of these things. The other one, Diamond in the Rough and Strong Medicine, Strong Magic, Diamond in the Rough is this anti-hunting episode where they go to Africa and some hunter tries to hunt Tenko's snow leopard Ninjara, which is hilarious to me because snow leopards don't live in Africa.
No.
And the other one was basically Tenko's horse, Pearl Rider, gets sick, and it's like a magical illness, and so they try to get Hawk's. Hawk is one of Tenko's guardians. He's a Native American, and his grandfather is a medicine man, as in every 90s cartoon. Magical Native Americans can heal magical illnesses. So, which is a little cringe to see today. But still a fun episode.
Very 90s. The magic Native Americans and the anti-hunting message are both very 90s messages.
Yes, so it will not surprise you one bit that there is an episode about saving the rainforest also in this show. Really, really big 90s themes going on here. So this show also had toys released at the same time as Jewel Riders. They are about the same scale as Jewel Riders toys, like a 6-inch doll with brushable hair. They were released by Mattel, and they basically, according to Greg Attore, the art director of Jewel Riders, these were making the rounds the same time doing product testing as the Jewel Rider toys. And he actually worked on a little bit of development for these, and we actually have those sketches up on the site. Actually just recently wrote like a kind of a long blog about Tenko and its development, and so you can see the Greg Attore sketches on the site if you want, and it's just fun to see a different version of what it became eventually.
Yeah, some of the characters originally were very different. It was pretty interesting.
Yeah, it was. Like, for one, I'm always mystified that they made the 3 supporting characters all men. It's like Tenko's reverse harem. And then, you never get any toys of any of them.
She doesn't date any of them. She likes Jason, the villain.
I know.
Which is kind of romantic and also kind of a terrible message.
Yes. Yes, this man who's tried to kill you multiple times with his psychotic sister. This is the one for you, kid.
He's just so misunderstood.
Yeah.
He's so misunderstood.
He's so misunderstood because he has that big 90s ponytail.
Yeah. What a bad boy.
I actually really like the Tenko and Jason. I think that's what makes Tenko, that puts the show kind of a step above everything else, because it has this building and growing forbidden love kind of subplot.
Yeah.
And with Jason being the villain who is also having doubts about his villainy, and because he likes the hero and he's not sure he should really be doing all the evil things his sister is into, but he still goes with his sister. I think that gives it, character depth, which is why I really liked Princess Tenko.
Yeah, like when he's inside the Tenko box in Trust and Betrayal, Tenko goes in there at one point, and he's like basically in the purity or whatever of the Tenko box is what they call it. He can recognize that what he's doing is wrong and everything. And so I'm like, see, that's like such a little tease. It's definitely one of those things that if you were to reboot the series, it would be really fun to lean into that a little more. Maybe, actually show Tenko and Jason dating before the show really kicks off. But I like Tenko a lot. It's a really fun show. A little bit kooky 90s. But I also wanted to talk a little bit more about the toys. This show also had toys at Taco Bell, which were little magic tricks that you could do.
Aww.
And which cracks me up because it's like the teacher tricks from the show.
I did not know about those. I have one of the dolls. I thought the dolls were very good. I like the very pretty face mold on the dolls and very pretty costuming. The dolls were thumbs up.
Yeah.
Yeah, they're beautiful.
They look nothing like the show, but they're beautiful.
Yeah. I mean, it's because they're not meant for Tenko, right?
No.
Like, they were meant for Wonder Woman.
They had magical transforming dolls. Their trick was that the doll had magnets that would stick her breastplate and her fancy Vegas floofy headpiece on.
Her Vegas showgirl headdress.
Magical transformation. Yes, I showed my friends my Tenko doll, and they were like, "Is she a Vegas performer?" And I got to say, "Well, actually, they're
She
based
could
on
be.
a performer." And they do kind of look like the actual Princess Tenko's outfits in her live action segments.
Mm-hmm.
She wore these amazing fringe for miles and glitter and whatnot outfits.
Oh, yeah. Her outfits are out of this world. I love them. The headdresses that are 2 feet tall. The stage illusions are just really fun. Like, after I finished watching, I found a few more of them on YouTube, and I just kept watching. Stage magic. I still think it's just so interesting that this came around the same time as Jewel Riders.
Mm-hmm.
It's such a synergistic type of idea. But like, Alex, like you were mentioning, it's interesting that Tenko ends up reusing bodies that were made for Wonder Woman and the Star Riders, one of my personal favorite unproduced toy lines.
Mm-hmm.
So, if you ever want to make a custom Wonder Woman and the Star Riders, you know where to start. You can pick up a Tenko doll or a Disney musical princess, which shares the same body mold.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, they're so fun.
I mean, if you look at the Tenko dolls, like, if you just repainted them slightly, they definitely would look like Wonder Woman.
Mm-hmm.
It's not very far off at all, and especially Wonder Woman and the Star Riders aesthetic, they used a lot of similar colors.
Mm-hmm.
So
yeah, lots of body suits as well.
Exactly. It's not very far off at all, even though they didn't end up moving forward with Wonder Woman and the Star Riders. It's like very clear that they still tried to repurpose as much as they could.
Yeah, it's like, well, we spent all the money to develop these molds. I guess we need to use them for something.
Yeah.
And Tenko was the recipient.
I want to say, like, one of my favorite things about Tenko is that, like, in terms of Western magical girls, I feel like Tenko has, like, a really nice set of transformations. Like, she feels very powerful when she's doing them. Like, the voiceover is really strong, I feel like.
Mm-hmm.
She, like, really, like, gets into it. I don't know. I really like it. Like,
yeah,
when
she yells like, that Starfire to transform.
Exactly. It feels very, like, powerful to me, and I really like that about Tenko. And I don't know, I like that there's, like, the different animals that are associated with the different transformations too. Like,
yeah, she's got the
rose eagle,
the golden lion, and the sapphire dolphin.
Yeah, it's pretty cool, and I like that. I think that's a really smart way to handle. Like, you have to balance the merchandising with the actual story, and I think that's a really smart way to do it, where it doesn't feel like you're just trying to sell toys.
Right. It's like, at least all of the toys of Tenko matched up with a transformation in the show.
Yeah, totally.
Yeah. Except for Shanti, who never transforms in the show. But I could see them building toward it a little bit in the episodes I watched. Like, she can magically hear the voices of animals and so forth. So I was like, okay, I'm sure a Starfire gem would have come for her in a season 2.
Yeah.
I wonder if there were plans for a season 2.
I mean, I feel like they didn't even really finish season 1, if I'm honest, because, like, 13 episodes is not a full season.
Friend of the show, Greg Attore, probably would have told us if there were.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, he's never mentioned, whether or not there would have been more Tenko, but I know his involvement with it as a project sort of faded away, like, once he started working on Jewel Riders in earnest. So I have to say, as a child, I was obsessed with the Ninjara toy, which is the snow leopard. And, I mean, where else can you find a snow leopard that you can put a giant headdress on? It was fantastic. The Pearl Rider horse, I believe, shares a mold with the She-Ra horses, if I'm not mistaken. I don't know where that Ninjara mold comes from, but I have seen it somewhere else as well. Those are super fun toys. I really wish there were more. Mm-hmm. I really wish they'd made at least one boy.
Yeah, that would have been nice.
It would have been nice. It's just, like I said, it just feels like odd choices to have half of your cast be characters you never made into toys at all. But,
well, I'm pretty sure toy making wisdom is girls do not buy dolls of boys.
Yes.
Therefore,
and boys don't buy action figures of girls. Yes,
yeah.
Because ridiculousness. Ridiculousness. So any final thoughts on Tenko?
I mean, it's interesting that, like, I'm reading the Wikipedia. It says Roger Slifer is the one who developed it. So that's kind of interesting because, like, he's had his hand in so many things, like Gem and the Holograms. He had his hand in Yu-Gi-Oh! The dub. Like,
really? I'm not familiar with him as a
apparently,
creator.
Yeah, like, I know he passed away a few years ago, and Christy Marks, creator of Gem, was crediting Roger Slifer with quite a lot of work that he did on Gem. I think he wrote quite a few episodes. Like, it was, like, mostly her, and then Roger Slifer wrote quite a few other ones, so...
Oh.
And then with Yu-Gi-Oh!, they actually, like, instead of dubbing and, like, translating one of the Egyptian god cards, like, accurately, they actually just renamed one of them after him. They called it Slifer the Sky Dragon.
I watched a lot of Yu-Gi-Oh! Back in the day.
So they did that as a tribute to him. So that's interesting that he's credited as developing Tenko for a TV series.
That is crazy. He's also the creator of DC's Lobo, who's like quite a well-known character. That is totally fascinating. You have to wonder with this show, who all had their hands in this? You have, now you have Roger Slifer, you have real life Princess Tenko, you have Haim Saban, three kind of large personalities now looming over this show.
I wonder if real life Princess Tenko even ever watched her animated counterpart. I wonder, she might have just, loaned out her name and her likeness.
Extend your popularity into the West, hopefully.
Yes.
It looks like Shuki Levy was involved with Tenko as well. Shuki Levy looks like was credited with composing some of the music, and Shuki Levy's like pretty much always with Saban for...
Yeah, those two tend to travel together.
So like Big Bad Beetleborgs and Power Rangers and stuff, Shuki Levy did that. I know Shuki Levy also was credited with doing the music for the pilot of the original 2D anime pilot of Miraculous Ladybug.
Oh, interesting.
Yeah. So before they did the 3D one that we have now, they have the 2D, like, I think it's like 4-minute animated pilot idea, and Shuki Levy did the music for that.
One of the questions I've always had with Tenko is that it falls on a timeline of the development of that Saban Sailor Moon show. I was like, was this the sort of outcome of that in the end? That he couldn't bring Sailor Moon over to the US, so he made Tenko instead?
I wonder. Yeah.
I don't know, it's something that I've just started to think about recently a lot. That it's like, was this, replacement basically for Sailor Moon?
Yeah, it might have been, because I'm looking right now. It says that Saban Moon, as it's been affectionately dubbed, it says around 1993 is when they were starting to try and develop that. In 1994, they were getting very serious about Saban Moon. So Tenko was 1995. So I imagine if the plans fell through for Saban Moon, they would have probably been like, well, we still want to do a magical girl show.
Yeah, we want to do an Asian-inspired magical girl show.
Yeah.
I guess we'll take this real-life magician.
Saban Moon was not actually Saban. So.
Oh, really? Okay.
Oh, really?
It is misnamed. It was actually made or not made by a company called Toon Makers that now seems to be defunct. So Saban Moon is its common name, but a misunderstanding.
So that's an apocryphal piece then. That's interesting. Tenko has sadly never had any home video release in the US. I doubt it ever will.
Yeah. I don't know. There was I saw like a release of like a few episodes. I think it was for the UK though.
Yeah. I've seen those DVDs for the UK.
Yeah.
And I'm not 100% sure where Tenko lives in the rights licensing at this point. Because I know at one point a bunch of Saban's assets were acquired by Disney, but then I know he bought back Power Rangers. But I don't know, does Tenko now live in the dusty attic of Disney to never be seen again?
I'm wondering if they licensed the name Tenko and the likeness for Tenko for just a limited period of time to see if it would catch on, because
right.
I imagine the real Tenko probably didn't license it in perpetuity to them. It would have probably been for just a limited amount of time, or maybe just for the show. Right.
I've heard this bizarre story that, and I can't verify it, that legally she has to always be 30 years old or something like that because of this doll license.
Oh.
Well, she is not 30 years old.
Yeah, no, definitely not.
I just read she is in her early 60s, and I hope still performing, because that would be kind of cool. In her amazing outfits.
Yes.
There was a Kotaku article a while ago about another attempt at a Western magical girl show, and it was called Teen Angel. Have either of you seen that?
Yes, I saw that article. They went looking for Saban Moon, and they found this thing. I think we could do a whole mini podcast on that after Chris watches that and reads that article. But
yes.
It was a pitch for this strange live action CG, and by CG I mean CG in the 90s.
Yes.
Dressed like Greek goddesses is my memory.
Yeah.
So read that, Chris. It's a thing.
That sounds fantastic.
It's a thing.
I am 1,000% here for this.
Yeah, like, I honestly love it. Like, the aesthetic is very much like Y2K, like magical girls, like live action, but with Power Ranger kind of vibes. I don't know.
I think we should do an episode on unproduced magical girls. We can talk about this and Saban Moon and Wonder Woman and the Star Riders.
There are lots of things I can say about Saban Moon, let me tell you.
That's its own episode right there.
Yep.
I've only ever seen the video of it from, like, recorded on somebody's camcorder from a convention.
That's all
the guy laughing.
I've ever seen.
Yes.
Yeah, that's all anyone's ever seen, with the, like, one guy laughing. It's like, I'm trying to listen to the show, my man. Like,
yeah.
Come on. Like,
You've ruined it for the whole internet's future.
Exactly.
Oh, gosh. Yeah. No, I do remember at one point cells came up for sale of the Saban Moon.
Yep.
Yeah, they do ever so often.
And I was like, I would like to own one of those at some point, just as a random curiosity.
Yes, alas, the person who had the cells was, I think, arrested for assault or something unfortunate.
What?
So his storage unit was auctioned off, and it was discovered in his storage unit there were these cells and a small part of the script for the 17-minute non-existent pilot for Saban Moon.
Wow.
That is the most internet story I have ever heard. Man seized for assault, storage unit raided. Yep. Sailor Moon American version things found.
This thing that people knew existed that nobody had ever seen, and all of a sudden, there was some of it. But not all of it.
Oh, that is so fascinating. It's like, I adore these sort of weird, apocryphal, like, media stories. Mm-hmm. To me, they're like the cryptids of cartoons.
It's like, it's one of the great mysteries. There are millions of Sailor Moon fans in the world, and we haven't managed to locate and liberate this little pilot. It's shame on us as a fandom. Shame on us.
For
but
shame.
Also, it's amazing.
I mean, the power of the internet has finally completed Tenko after how many years of being incomplete. Mm-hmm. So maybe someday will bring us the wonderful Saban Moon pilot. Or Teen Angel.
Oh my god, I would watch Teen Angel, I'm not gonna lie.
I think all of us here would watch it without any qualms.
Yeah, like, I don't know, I'm fine with that. Like, I feel like it would be a really fun thing to have in the modern day. Like, Power Rangers is still kind of going, so, like, it'd be fun to have Teen Angel be, like, a more empowering feminine counterpart to Power Rangers, I feel like.
I mean, as somebody who grew up loving the Mystic Knights of Tir na Nog, the weird Irish fantasy counterpart of Power Rangers, like, I'm here for non-Power Rangers, Power Rangers style things. Like, like, I think they're just really fun. It's You can have a lot of fun with those concepts.
Totally.
And without them being Sentai like Beetleborgs or...
Oh, but I loved Beetleborgs. I'm sorry. I thought it was so much more fun than Power Rangers. I'm like the only one probably, but...
It's been years since I've seen it. There was another one, right? VR Troopers at the same time.
Oh, yeah.
Wait, is Beetleborgs the one where they fight comic characters?
Yeah.
Okay.
They like literally like when they transform, they like become the comic characters. It's really
Oh my
cool.
gosh, that's awesome.
Yeah, it's pretty
I like
fun.
that idea. I like that idea.
I literally had the like Beetle Bonder when I was growing up. It was so much fun. And like you put the little, like for Metallics, they had it where you put in the little card, so it would be like change your transformation or whatever. And they would like, they like announce everything, of course, because it's
Of
like
course.
So they're like input card. It was so much fun. I don't know. I loved Beetleborgs. I thought it was a lot more quirky and interesting than Power Rangers. I don't know. I never watched Juban B Fighter, which is like obviously the original, but I kind of want to just to see what things they have in common. Like I don't feel like they have anything in common. Like they definitely don't have an Elvis kind of like ghost character who lives in an organ. They definitely don't have that. Like Flabber does not exist in Juban B Fighter for sure, but and like the mummy and the werewolf and everything, it's like I don't know where they got this idea. Like why would they have a haunted house and like get powers to become bug inspired heroes of justice from a haunted house? I don't know, but they did.
Because the 90s.
Yeah, because they just wanted to do that. And I kind of respect the commitment to the narrative, you know? It's like, wow, like you really committed to this and I actually really enjoyed it. So don't ask too many questions and just enjoy. That's kind of the 90s.
Well, I wish somebody had committed that hard to Princess Tenko.
Me too.
And maybe someday we can all file the serial numbers off and write our own Princess Tenko. Princess Tinko.
Yeah. I mean, someone should continue on with the spirit of Tenko because there's a lot of great ideas within Tenko that never really got to be fully explored.
So I guess to wrap up Tenko, if you like Jewel Riders, there is a 90+% chance you will also like Tenko. And if you like magical gems that transform you, and if you want something that's just a little more modern, Tenko is the place to go. So check out all the episodes on the Jewel Riders Archive YouTube channel. And with that, any final thoughts on Tenko from you guys?
I think we've covered it all.
We've covered all that 13 episodes of a tiny show allow. More words expended on Tenko than the show itself right here. So from there, we are going to travel 1 year forward to 1996, and we're going to talk about Sky Dancers. Now, this is a show based on a 1994 toy from Galoob, also named, surprisingly enough, Sky Dancers. But
Wow.
this show has almost nothing to do with those toys, except having the same logo. The world of those toys is really not developed. They're all kind of based on the flying toy gimmick. And there's a fascinating article from the New York Times from 1994 Christmas all about the development of Sky Dancers, which I will link below because that was a fascinating read to me on the development of this toy.
So
But
the flying
this-
toy was the new thing then, like changing color sequins are the new thing now.
Yes. Yeah, I mean, a flying ballerina toy surprisingly had never happened before then. But this show is a French co-production between Abrams Gentile Entertainment and Gaumont Multimedia, which later became Zelam Animation. And one of the producers on this is Savin Yateman, who also went on to develop Oban Star Racers a few years later. Another kind of well-known sort of anime series.
Mm-hmm.
But this series follows 5 teens at the High Hope Dance Academy who discovered that their, quote, Dame Skyla is in fact, quote, Queen Skyla of the Wingdom. So using her sky swirl stone that's on a glove that she wears, Skyla transforms Angelica, Jade, Camille, Breeze, and Slam into the Sky Dancers to defend the Wingdom from the evil Sky Clone who killed King Skylar, who was his brother and Skyla's now deceased husband. First off, I have to say, I think Skyla is the secret protagonist of this show.
I stand Queen Skyla. Like, the hair that she has with the little, like, red stripe and the blue stripes and the blonde hair, it's pretty iconic. I'm a little annoyed, though, they didn't keep her green hair from the opening, because I love the green hair.
Yeah, so let's talk for a minute about the opening, because the opening showcases the most wonderful designs for these characters. Like, Skyla has this mint green hair and this starry dress.
Beautiful.
And the 5 teens are like the most perfectly 90s outfits. Like,
yes.
Breeze looks grunge, like Jade looks like very 90s dancer.
Mm.
You know, they're just fantastic. And I'm sure they cost too much to animate. So that's why we got the simplified designs that they ended up with. But, you know, in my heart, they exist always as those versions.
Like, I just wish we got Queen Skyla with her perfect mint hair ponytail. It's so cute. It's so iconic. Like, her dress looks opulent. It's, like, over the top beautiful. But the Skyla we got was still really cool. She's got 4 wings.
Yeah.
She's got, like, this beautiful, like, bleach blonde hair with the red stripe up top and the, you know, blue stripes. Mm-hmm. It's beautiful. She is the secret protagonist. Like, the whole show is about her, if we're honest.
Yeah, the show is about her losing her husband and the many ways that he tries to come back.
Like, literally, the show is, like, what is the plot? The plot is trauma and dancing.
Yeah.
It's like, oh my god, I really miss my dead husband, but also you need to learn to dance, like, for real.
I've always wondered, I was like, so she's the queen of this wingdom.
Mm-hmm.
How does she have time to go into the human world and run an entire school for dance?
Well, because it's a magical kingdom. Magical people don't do politics or economics. It's all magical and peaceful. Except for the one baddie.
Yes.
Except for the one baddie who
That's
in every episode
work.
I watch, he just sort of flies away and they sort of chuckle at the end. And it's like, oh, Sky Clone.
Yeah. I mean, I don't know. I don't really think she would have had time to run a whole dance school and a kingdom, but, like, we're going to pretend that, like, time stops in the wingdom when they're in the human world.
When she's gone, time just stops.
Yeah, and then all of a sudden Sky Clone, like, messes with that, and, like, they're like, oh no, Sky Clone's doing something in the wingdom, and let's go and miniaturize ourselves into your little jewelry box thing. And
so we do need to say that to enter the wingdom, Skyla uses the stone to shrink the Sky Dancers to the size of the toys.
Yeah.
Whereupon they enter into magical jewelry box.
Like Fabergé egg kind of thing.
Fabergé egg, like music boxes.
Yeah.
And this room has at least 100. And I'm like, do all of them lead to different places in the wingdom? Does only a few of them? Because I know in one of the episodes I watched, they go to this area called Azure, which looks like an underwater kingdom. And they go through a separate box to get there. So I was like, oh, are these all Wingdom boxes? And it just made me really curious. I was like, that's some storytelling possibilities.
Totally. Yeah, I mean, and they have to like join hands and do their little like say, if it is to be, it's up to me.
It's up to me. Yeah. And they all say a little piece of it.
Yeah.
It's super cute in 90s in that way.
It is cute. I don't know. I love this show. Like, this is one of my favorite shows from the era, for sure. I feel like all of the characters were pretty distinct, and I really appreciated that. Like, all of them felt very different, and none of them felt completely plot devicey to me, which I really liked. I don't think I can say the same for every 90s show, so I feel like this one really stood out in that regard. They did a good job in making them all distinct, and like it was very easy to pick your favorites from them. None of them felt like less important to me either. Like, I think Jade, Angelica, and Camille are definitely like more prominent than the two boys of Breeze and Slam, but at the same time, Breeze and Slam didn't feel unimportant.
No, yeah. It's not like the second season of Jewel Riders where the boys just disappear basically completely.
Yeah.
Yeah. And they all have really complementary powers. So each of them, along with their transformation, gets a specific power, we should say. Jade can turn invisible. Angelica can stop time. Camille can create things out of clouds. Breeze can control nature, and Slam can create like energy bolts, basically. And these moves are all activated, of course, by a dance move that they have to do to activate them. So if you're fighting for your life, you still got a pirouette to turn invisible.
Honestly, I love Angelica's powers the most because I think it's so interesting that like she can only stop time in a very specific place. And it's like a very, like, I don't know. I really appreciate it when they put limitations on powers, and like she can only do it in a very specific place for a very short amount of time. So it's not like she's just stopping time for everybody, for
everyone. Yeah.
Yeah. It's like she literally flies around the target she's trying to stop time for and coats them in this like pink energy that like stops time. And it's, I don't know. I always thought that was really cool. And like Camille creating these objects out of clouds, it's like very interesting. Like, what a weird power. I've never heard of anyone else having something like that. She like, I remember in one episode creates like bars out of the clouds.
In one of the episodes that I watched, they were in the Netherworld, which is where Skyclone, you know, concocts his evil schemes. And she creates like an entire fake door to hide them out of clouds. And I'm like, yeah, but it's still clouds. Wouldn't they notice that door is not?
Like, I have to be honest, out of everybody, I feel like the most uninteresting power is Jade, even though I love Jade. I just like turning invisible is not as interesting as anybody else's power. Like, it's like, okay, but I mean, it's still like pretty iconic because she like twirls in an array of sparkles. It's pretty iconic. Like, yeah, we still love Jade.
We like her. We like her. Jade also has a really good episode about, you know, her mother was a dancer who left the family. And there's like a lot of, and so Jade lives with her father, and there's like a lot of really good family drama in that episode, surprisingly.
Yeah, I like Jade was the team skeptic at the very beginning. She's like, my father is a scientist. I can't believe in all this magic. Well, it's happening. It's real. Yeah. And I liked that. I like that the skepticism getting a shout out.
Yeah. It's a nice little refresher from like, okay, we're all in on this magic.
I mean, that Jade episode with her mother is like such a good episode about forgiveness too, because it's like her mother had to like sort of choose between her dreams as a professional dancer and her ambition, and then raising her own daughter. So it's like quite an interesting episode about forgiveness, really. And like, it's quite emotional, really. Like, I don't know. I'm pretty easy to cry over like good narratives like that. And I think it's a great narrative where like she really has to reconcile the fact that she understands where her mother's coming from, but she's a little bit resentful that she chose her own dreams over being with her and being part of the family.
Mm-hmm. And, a dancer's career is fairly short. By the time you're 40, you're pretty much done.
Yeah.
And I think it's interesting, her mother is coming to this point in her career where she's realizing my career's over and I missed my daughter, growing up. And now it's like, how can I make up for lost time? And it's just like, it's such a weighty thing for, a half an hour cartoon to tackle. And it's done really deftly. And yeah, that's like definitely one of my favorite episodes of the show.
Me too. It's such a good episode. It makes me tear up every single time.
Oh,
it's so good.
One of my other favorite episodes is, oh my gosh, which one is it? Episode 12, Time and Again. This is the one where the Sky Dancers go back in time and they meet the young Queen Skyla and the young Skylar and the young Sky Clone.
Mm-hmm.
And and at the end, you get the sense like the three girls become like ladies in waiting to Skyla.
Mm-hmm.
And at the end, she has this memory of them like, yes, it's something my ladies in waiting taught me. And it's like, she knew that they would go back in time.
Oh, I missed that episode. I'm going to have to watch it.
It's so good.
All right. How many episodes are there total?
This is a 26 episode series. So
okay.
One full season. And I watched a couple of, so I picked episodes at random to watch for this to just refresh myself on the characters and so forth. And I somehow ended up picking both of the episodes where they go to Azure, the underwater sky realm. And I have to say, there is one of them that cracked me up. It's like not a good episode. It's where Camille breaks up with her boyfriend of like 2 dates.
Yeah.
And then she gets upset. And they show her eating chips in one scene.
Oh,
and then by the next scene, she can't dance because she's gained weight.
Oh, my God.
And I was like, this is so bad.
Yeah, like, I don't feel like those Azure episodes are, like, strong at all in the series. Like, I feel like most of the strong episodes are, like, usually when they're in High Hope Academy or when they're just in the Wingdom dealing with Sky Clone and the imps.
Mm-hmm.
Specifically, those are, I don't know, like I love the imps too. Like they might be that might be controversial to say amongst like the like 2 Sky Dancers fans out there, but like I love the imps. Like Jumbo, Muddle. Yeah, Jumbo, Muddle, and Snarl are all amazing. I like that they lose their heads. I think
they
it's
fall
funny.
apart. Yeah.
Yeah.
I don't know who they're supposed to sound like, but they definitely have voices that they're supposed to sound like someone.
Mm-hmm.
They look like characters from The Nightmare Before Christmas to me.
They do. Yeah, they do.
I feel like there's some inspiration there for sure. But they are funny. Like,
yeah,
I appreciate that they're not annoying.
Yeah, they're actually pretty funny, and they're like incompetent funny.
Yes.
I don't really understand what the point of the dogs were, like the dogs with the flying ears. Like I don't feel like they
twirl.
Yeah, they didn't really add anything.
To sell toys. I bet the dogs are just here to sell toys. I saw them and I thought, yeah, that's a toy op.
But again,
did they even have toys?
They didn't make toys of the dogs.
Aww.
Oh,
I mean, they're cute, but they don't add anything. Like, they don't have voices or personalities, really.
Mm-hmm.
So
if they're just there to remind you that Skyla is like a lonely widower with her dogs only to take care of.
Yeah, like literally every other episode has Skyla like pining for Skylar, who, by the way, stole her mint hair. he got the mint hair.
He got the
she
mint
doesn't
hair
have
at
it.
The end.
It's really annoying. He got the mint hair and she didn't. So I don't know.
It's always such a question. Like, is he alive or is he not alive?
I think he's dead throughout the entire show.
I mean, he goes into something called the death spin.
Yeah.
But I think at one point he also says, well, I survived, but I was thrown into another dimension. But here he is very much as a ghost, so who knows?
Yeah, it's like, is he dead and a ghost, or is he in another dimension, or is he just dead?
I mean, like, with the way she pines over him, it just feels like wishful thinking, like, sorry, Skyla.
Oh, you need to move on with your life, girl.
Like, yeah, it's like, I don't know.
Like, there's the episode where the fake Skylar comes back and she is 1,000% ready to just give him that stone.
Yep, that's one of the ones I watched this morning.
Also, I was obsessed with the glove that she wore as a child.
Yeah.
With a big old rock in the center of it.
Did they ever make a toy of that?
I think there is some sort of toy-like thing of the glove.
I really wish I had that. That's so cool. The Sky Squirrel Stone, that's so cool. I just wish the actual dolls looked like the characters. Like, they have some of them that are named after the characters, but they definitely don't look like them.
Oh, yes. Okay, so they made a toy called Skydancer's Secret Surprise, and they're gloves that light up with different jewels and patterns and stuff like that.
Oh, okay. Oh, yeah, I see it.
I wouldn't say that they're elegant.
Same.
Yeah.
It's not the same.
Yeah.
Looks like there are 26 Skydancers fanfictions on fanfiction.net.
Wow.
Oh, that's so few.
I mean, I'm happy that they exist.
I'm happy that there's that at all.
Yeah. I mean, I don't know. I think the show had tons and tons and tons of potential. I will say, like, I like the toys, but I think the designs of the original Skydancers are really beautiful. Like, the bases are, like, extremely detailed. Mm-hmm. And I like the fairy tale series that they did with, like, they had, like, a Sleeping Beauty one that was really beautiful. And the base had, like, the thorns and the vines and all of that. It was gorgeous.
I have the
but, like,
Cinderella one of that set.
It's so pretty, right?
Yeah, it's like, the whole thing is that the base is like a carriage, and the pole is like the fairy godmother, I think.
Yeah,
like,
they're absolutely beautiful, but I will say I like the show better than the toys.
Yeah, I think it's a really missed opportunity to not, for one way or the other, they should have matched them. Like, when the show came out, they should have just made a line of them that looked like the show. It's just very sad to me because I love the show's designs.
I do too. I wish we had real dolls that looked like the characters from the show. We really don't. Like, they call a few of them the same name, but it's like they don't look the same.
Yeah. If
we're honest. Like, yeah. And also, can we talk about the licensing issue with the theme song? Because I cannot stand the other theme song. Because, like, I think that on YouTube right now, it's Mondo World that has it uploaded at the moment. They have, like, the other theme song, but not the original theme song.
Not the I Can Dance, I Can Fly theme song.
Yeah, and that's the good theme song. The other one is just like, what is this? Like, it doesn't match the animation. It's not catchy. It feels tired. Like, like, it's just not the same.
Well, interestingly, some of these episodes have completely different musical scores, depending on what version you watch. So there's actually going to be a video coming out from the archive where if you put your earbuds in, you can listen to each audio on the left and the right channels.
Oh.
And I break it down a little bit to show you where it's different. Like, lines are missing in certain versions, and I'm just like, wow. What happened with the music and for this show, like, in the licensing? Like,
something went wrong.
Yeah. These toys were also relaunched in like 2004 by a company called Play Along Toys. And the faces are a little bit Bratz looking.
They are.
But they do technically, I guess, have like Jade and Camille and Angelica toys, at least.
I have like literally the old one and the new one right next to each other here.
Oh,
and,
really?
Like, yeah, and like the new one, I think, is when they did the light up ones, where like when you pull the string, they light up as they spin. It's pretty cool, but like the faces are very, very Bratz like, and they don't look like Sky Dancers.
Yeah, there's just something in those original Sky Dancer faces and molds and the bases. They're very pastel. They're very sweet. And when you get to the ones that are re-released in 2004, it's like, who are these? Like,
yeah.
I don't think these are the Sky Dancers.
No.
So we also need to talk about the incredible use of puns in this. Everything is a sky-themed thing. Like, every land, every person, every, like, it just blows me away. You know, like we said, her dogs are named Whirl and Twirl. Just random names like Skyridium for the kingdom where the fairies live. And just so many weird little catchphrases and rhymey talk. And there's a character I actually love called the Tinker, who shows up in several episodes. He's like this old Merlin-like character who helps to like fix the Sky Swirl Stone or make little inventions. Like the episode where Camille gains weight and can't fly. He makes her like a hang glider.
Oh, no.
Oh my god.
I was dying. But I thought it was fun that there's a recurring character that is not part of the main cast necessarily, but who can just sort of show up. So I have recently been falling down the hole of like buying Sky Dancers off of eBay, which is a real problem because they are expensive.
So expensive.
And I think they're expensive in part because in 2000 they got recalled.
Oh, yeah.
Because children were launching them into other children's eyes and causing corneal damage. This is very unfortunate. So, like, number one, if you find it and it's in the box, you're probably going to pay like $100 or more, which is insanity to me. So every time I go to a real live toy show or convention, I'm always like, wonderful, I'll find a Sky Dancer here.
Aww.
And at
You're
PowerCon,
gonna find your Sky Dancers and I find my Lady Lovely Locks.
Oh, I love Lady Lovely Locks.
I know, it's like, don't you also look for Moon Dreamers usually too?
I do.
Yeah, those are really cute too. Yeah, I was shocked I found one at PowerCon this last year. And I was like, it's a Sky Dancer.
Aww.
It's like
And how much was it? Did the booth owner know what he had?
I don't know, because, I mean, I think he had to have known, because out of the box it was like $30. Which, you know, if you didn't know what you'd had, you'd probably price that at like maybe 15.
Yeah.
But yeah, so out of the box, and it's in decent shape. Still has the tutu on, which is amazing, because those don't survive very well. But it was fun to find one in the wild, I have to say.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, someday.
Apparently, PowerCon is the place to go.
Yeah.
Maybe next year I will make it.
Yeah, you can go through that giant bin of My Little Ponies. I thought of you so much when I saw it. I was like, oh, Stormy would love this bin.
Finding things in the wild, that's the joy of it.
It's more fun than buying it on eBay, but
yes.
I did just find I've been hunting for years for that Peter Pan set that they made of Peter and Tinkerbell and I just finally found one out of the box, and I got it, and it's on its way. I'm very excited. It's not in like mint condition or anything, but I'm like, I'll take it. Just give it to me. So who is your favorite character in the show overall?
I mean, I don't know. It's hard because, like, the thing is, I feel like all of the characters in the show are really fun, and I like all of them.
Mm-hmm.
Like, Jade's episode with her mother is, like, really amazing. That's, like, probably one of the strongest episodes in the show, so I love Jade for that. But, like,
yeah,
I love Angelica at other times, and then Camille's power is my favorite.
Mm-hmm.
Slam and Breeze are great. I feel like Breeze never got enough development. I like Breeze, but I feel like they could have used another season to give Breeze some more time.
Yeah.
Slam is like the typical dude bro, but like sometimes like who doesn't love that? You know?
I mean, like, I'm gonna say, like, I like me a himbo redhead
Exactly.
boy from time to time.
Exactly.
So.
Like, who doesn't love a himbo? And you know, Slam is definitely that. So I like all of them. But I mean, I guess if we really, really, really get down to it, I love Skyla. Skyla is my absolute favorite character. Because I feel like she's just, I don't know, like, she feels powerful, but she feels in need of help at the same time. And I think that's a really interesting character to have in a show because, you know, usually you don't have both in the same character. I don't feel like it's like they don't feel like they go together in the same synergistic way that you get with Skyla. Like, she's the queen of the Wingdom, but she also needs the Sky Dancers, and it's just kind of like interesting. I don't know. I love Skyla. I think she's my favorite.
I think you touched on something really interesting there that I've never really put that together. And I wonder if it's a conscious choice of, like, she didn't really want the Sky Swirl Stone, therefore she's not as interested in using it for power as somebody who would have naturally inherited it.
Yeah.
Which could be, in our Skydancers reboot coming 2030, we can explore.
Well, you know, I was thinking of the parallels with Skyclone and Lady Kale both being the villains who were passed over for the throne in favor of their more sensible sibling.
Right.
And with the imps and the dweezels and Lady what's-her-name's minions in Wildfire.
Oh,
and Obscurum in Winx Club. They're all the bumbling evil minions. So it's all, there's the thread of similar plot going through them all.
Definitely. Like, Skyclone cracks me up because, you know, to live in the Wingdom, you have to have something called the right of flight, which has been stripped away when they went into that death spin, but he's still flying all the time. He just doesn't have wings.
And he bemoans how fat he is, and he's got a spiral on his belly for some reason. I have to go and see that time travel episode so I can see what he was like before he turned into himself.
Yes. He's just such a strange villain for this show. Like, I think I would have probably preferred like a Catra or a Kale type villain for this show. I think it might have worked a little bit better.
Yeah, that would kind of have made more sense in a way.
Yeah. You know, you could have released a doll of a female villain and yeah.
Maybe Skyla's sister instead of Skylar's.
Yeah, maybe.
Brother.
Skyla's sister would have been a good villain.
Oh, Skyla. She's so good.
She is.
Let me just stare off into the distance and moan about my husband.
Yeah, literally. And then stick her hand out and just be like, oh, look at my Sky Swirl Stone.
Yeah.
and it like shines super brightly and like miniaturizes people for no reason.
Yeah, Skyla's probably my favorite character as well. You know, with my like love of Slam coming in like right behind. 'Cause he's just so dorky and funny and cute, and it's just like, okay, I'll take it. Of the girls, I always liked Angelica as a child. You know, I'm definitely not into country western music like Angelica is, but I don't know, she's a lot of fun. She's that typical 90s mall girl voice, and it's just a lot of fun to listen to now. You know, I mean, at one point, she's like, I did the mall thing this weekend. And it's just like, oh my god, I love you. Like, and her and Breeze have, like, a sort of relationship that pops up now and again in the show. And I was like, what is happening with this? This needs more development. And how about you, Stormy? Favorite character?
Well, also Skyla, for all the reasons that Alex said. She really is the center of the story.
Mm-hmm.
But I like Jade for her scientist and skepticism. I thought that was pretty cool.
Yeah, that's really good.
Those were my favorites. I haven't watched all the episodes, so I don't know what else happens to everybody. I've only watched maybe half of them. So
okay.
Does Breeze have a medicine man, magic Native American grandfather like Hawk in Tenko?
I did laugh when I was like, oh no, magical Native Americans, 2 for 2 in these shows.
Yeah.
There is an episode, where they go. Okay, there is an episode 22, called Troublemakers, where Breeze invites the Skydancers to his tribe's celebration in the desert.
Oh no.
Yeah.
Well, maybe it's better than having no Native American representation.
Right.
Even if it is a little cringe now.
Yeah. I always have to laugh at Breeze's outfits with his like hot pants and like and I was like, this is 100% designed by a gay man.
I mean, Slam's too.
Slam
like,
also
let's
is like
have
half his chest out.
Yeah. One peck out, just exposed for no reason.
That is a strange outfit Slam wears.
You know, it's funny because in like earlier versions I've seen, it's like he has like a black and white theme, like a yin yang.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm like, it's sort of weirdly turned into black and yellow with random arrows on it. It's like, what is this? I don't understand. But it's such a fun show. I like its counterpart Dragonflies a lot as well. You know, very reminiscent to me of like Anne McCaffrey's Dragon Riders of Bern, but it's like a crazy, you know, dark future, you know, where the Earth is destroyed basically and humanity survives in this floating city. And they have to use their dragons to go get these crystals from Earth to power the city. Which is all totally ridiculous, but the aesthetic is really cool. So.
I will have to watch this show. I have never seen it.
Oh, okay. Yeah, made by the same people who did Skydancers the same year. And shares a couple of the voice actors, I believe. Like, I believe Slam's voice actor also voices the youngest of the siblings of the Dragonflies. But yeah, that one's quite a bit of fun, too. Any final thoughts on Skydancers?
Skydancers left me feeling kind of similar to the way Lady Lovelocks left me feeling. Like, there's world building to be had here.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
A ton of potential with both of them. I mean, I feel like Skydancers was able to find a bit more of its footing. I love Lady Lovelocks, and I wish it would have had the same opportunity.
Yeah.
There's some iconic moments in Lady Lovelocks, though, for sure. But Skydancers was able to do a bit more, I feel like, with the time it had, which I'm grateful for, because, like, it's a really fun show.
Yeah, I mean, even just considering Lady Lovelocks has those, like, 15-minute episodes,
Yes.
You know, which is crazy to think, how could you tell a story in that short of a time?
Yeah.
But I don't know, if I could import Duchess Ravenwaves into Skydancers, I would not be sad about that.
She would be an iconic villain, honestly. She's an iconic villain as it is. Like, I'll never get over how she can see everything through her telescope, and then, like, Lady Lovelocks has to go through this elaborate, long, winding path to get to the looking room to see things. And I'm like, oh my god, you could just buy a telescope. Like, and, like, that's the whole thing. It's like, I'm going to cut your magic hair because you can use the looking room. It's like, girl, you have a telescope. Like, do you need the magic hair, really?
Oh, man. Yeah, give me Skyla's evil sister, Ravenwave.
Yeah.
I would 1,000% be here for that.
Definitely.
Yeah.
It would work. The long hair, the jewel tone wings, it would work.
Oh my gosh. Somebody make us some art. I love this show. This is like one of my 4 like ride or die shows from childhood that has stayed with me for just forever. You know, this, Jewel Riders, Tenko, and Dragonflies are the shows that, for whatever reason, they're very unknown overall, but I love them a lot. And so I don't know, they just feel like they mean a little bit more to me because of that. So this show, I first rediscovered it I bought VCDs from Malaysia in like 2004. And I was delighted to finally see the whole show. And I still have those VCDs, and now, of course, it's all available on YouTube. You can find it easily. But for a long time, that, you know, there was no other way to see it. So it was.
I was just gonna say I had the VHS tapes, and they were like, one of them was like bright pink, and it was so pretty.
Yes. So each of the VHS tapes are like a different pastel color that matches the clamshell.
It's so pretty.
So, like, one is like a minty green, one's like a light purple. I have a few of those now that I've picked up over time, and I'm like, they're so cute. Skydancers was briefly released on DVD. They released 2 DVDs, totaling about 9 or 10 episodes, I want to say. Back in, like, 2004, somewhere when the new dolls were being released. And sadly, of course. Oh, yes, they did have the Game Boy game.
They did.
That's right.
The game has, like, literally nothing to do with anything. I've played it. And then they had the McDonald's tie-in as well, I believe.
Yes, they're Skydancers. I mean, I think you can't underestimate that Skydancers was, like, a brand that brought in millions at its height. Like, it was really popular. And of course, anything that's popular gets a McDonald's fast food toy tie-in at some point. And the McDonald's Skydancers don't fly off their bases, they only twirl in place. Because, you know, the last thing you want is to launch it into someone's throat as they're eating a Big Mac.
Like, yeah, I just sent the DVD art, and, like, it looks nothing like the show or the DVD art. It's very weird.
This DVD art is like the old doll storybook art.
And then the Game Boy Advance game looks like they were trying to go for the, like, manga aesthetic.
Oh, goodness.
But it's very much like Christopher Hart, How to Draw Manga.
Oh, it so is.
Say, I forgot his name.
Yeah, it's very Christopher Hart. Like, there's no detail on their wings. There's not a single sparkle to be seen. Like, it's very flat coloring.
The main girl's whole arm just disappears and turns into her wing.
Yes. Yeah. And, like, I'm pretty sure that main girl there is supposed to be Angelica. And then in the back there, I think that is supposed to be Camille. So she's not the same character anymore.
Oh, jeez.
Yeah. So
Yeah, these are definitely not the same girls.
no.
I mean, where's their Aquanet 2 feet high hair with a bow? Like,
The thing about the game too is it's a platformer, so you like never fly. You just jump.
That's not right.
No, like you should fly sometimes, maybe.
yeah. In a game called Sky Dancers, where everybody has wings, one should fly at some point.
Yeah, no, you just jump.
That is ridiculous.
Yeah.
I may have to hunt down a copy of this at some point. Just to see how ridiculous it is. I do have a Game Boy Advance sitting in my closet, so... or if I'm bad, I could just get a ROM of it, I'm sure.
That's what I did, honestly.
Okay. But yeah, Sky Dancers. Basically, as far as I can tell, the last Western Magical Girl series of the 90s. Aside from the anime that, of course, then came over, like Sailor Moon and Cardcaptor Sakura, Card Captors in the US. And what else came over in the 90s for Magical Girl animes? Wedding Peach, maybe?
Wedding
I don't
Peach
think so. I only have
early
fan subs.
2000s, right?
Okay. Is that after the 90s?
Let me see. When did Wedding Peach come over? It was a... Well, it started in 1995, but that doesn't mean it was over here at that point.
Right. Well,
I don't know.
Well, Uchina was over here at that point.
Hmm.
And Fancy Lala was over here, I think,
Mhm.
around. So
Uchina, and Magic Knight Ray Earth, of course.
yeah, Ray Earth.
Yes.
Ray Earth, yes.
Ray Earth was the second anime I watched, I think, after Sailor Moon.
Oh, it's a good stepping stone after
Yeah.
Sailor Moon. Oh, I was obsessed with Clamp for a very long time.
Oh my
It's
god.
very pretty art.
Yeah.
Wedding Peach did not get over here until 2003.
Okay.
That's quite a while, because apparently the original release was 1994.
Yeah.
I'm
dang,
sure I had fan subs before then. HS fan subs, and Wedding Peach was, I know, one of the first ones I would have traded for.
Oh, fan sub tape trading. Makes me
Those were
so
the
happy
days.
to remember it.
I know.
Makes me so
Or
happy.
It's more convenient, but they don't have the same soul.
I mean, I am grateful I can flip on my Crunchyroll and watch so many things at the 2 presses of a button. But it doesn't quite have the same joy of getting a new tape in the mail.
Yeah.
Oh. Well, if you want to relive Sky Dancers, we can watch the Sky Dancers VHS tapes. With all their lines that are from tracking that are going to be blurring across the screen.
I mean, at least they're gonna have the original theme song. So
Yes. And I'll have to do further comparison whether my VCDs have the original theme song on them. Because I know some of the episodes did and some had the other one. The not
the
good
other one.
The other one.
It's like Gem Girls with Gem. I can't. Like, there's the original opening, and then there's Gem Girls. I'm like, I can't with it. It's just not iconic. We don't love her. That song, we don't love her.
Well, you know what we have to do now? We have to make a podcast episode where we talk about all of the anime titles we just named.
I know, right?
I mean,
Oh my gosh. I don't know if I have time to watch like 50 episodes of Wedding Peach.
no, you only watch the first few.
Yeah.
You'll get the idea pretty quick.
Oh my gosh, there's so many good anime we could talk about. Princess Tutu, Kaleidostar.
Oh, I love both of those.
So
I haven't seen Kaleidostar. I've seen Princess Tutu.
Oh my gosh, Stormy, you have to watch Kaleidostar. It's so good.
I may have it. I may have pirated it during my piracy days and just never watched it. I will check.
You will love Kaleidostar. It's so good.
Okay.
It was really fun. It was really fun. Like, I definitely, like, I rebought the second season because they included the OAV with the re-release. That's how much I enjoyed Kaleidostar.
So yeah. I love it. I mean, I don't know. No one's seen Fancy Lala. It's so sad, but I love Fancy Lala too.
Fancy Lala. I've seen Fancy Lala. Fancy Lala is good.
It's good. And that's the thing. Nobody, like, appreciates it because, like, all the other Studio Pierrot magical girls, like, got more success and they became more iconic. And then there's Lala there. And I'm like, but she's so cute. It's so cool. And she's an artist.
She doesn't fight evil. I think that's why she doesn't fit in, because she just transforms, and she has, like, slice of life kid and slice of life being an idol. And both of them are good, but none of them are magical adventures exactly.
Exactly, yeah. I don't know. It's one of my favorites for sure, but nobody appreciates Lala.
I have the DVDs and I need to watch them at some point.
You should. Well, you should watch the original OVA for it too. Fashion Lala, Harbor Light Story.
The one where, like, gangs are set to rumble and then she appears and starts singing in the middle of, like, the ensuing gang violence.
What?
Yes.
Like,
it's
the only
really
thing I remember about it was how funny that was.
It's so 80s. So, like, basically they have, like, a lot of references to 80s movies. And then, like, they have, like, I think it's the queen of the town or something is what they called her. And it's like this contest where they get all the ladies in town to go to this, like, stadium to dance and, like, become the queen of the town or something like that. So basically the protagonist, what she does is she's just like a normal little girl and she wants to participate, but she can't. And then she gets a dress and it's like very Cinderella because they like cut up her dress and they like her stepmother and her sisters and whatever, and they're like really mean to her. So then these little like fairy dinosaur plushies from the attic give her like the power to transform into Fashion Lala, who's like, by the way, more iconic than Fancy Lala because she does like a little twirl and changes her outfit and her look. So she's like in the middle of this stadium with all this gang violence of the 80s going on with this like very synthesizer heavy music. And she's like twirling and changing her outfit and her form and like just being a super iconic queen the entire time.
Sounds bananas.
It looks like it's on YouTube. The Fashion Lala OAV seems to be on YouTube.
Okay, I will have to watch
good.
that one.
I love it. And then like randomly her love interest, who's like way too old for her because like she's a little girl. Yeah, and so like he lives on a pirate ship that's just crashed in the middle of the city. We don't know why.
What?
Yeah. Because like he's mad at his dad, who's the mayor, so he lives on a pirate ship.
What?
Because his dad is like having affairs with young women or something.
Oh my god.
It's very much like soap opera vibes, but magical girl.
Okay, I will have to watch that one because that sounds fantastic.
And then like the funny thing is
violence against magical idols.
Funny thing is they were like, well, this didn't work. Let's like do the same thing again, but like make it more Cardcaptor Sakura. And then they came up with Fancy Lala.
Oh. I know. Can you think of any other Western magical girls from the 90s? I usually draw a blank after Sky Dancers, and they sort of go into hibernation and don't reemerge until like Winx and Witch and like Totally Spies, I think.
I mean, Rainbow Bright was 80s.
Yeah.
Angel's Friends was early 2000s, right?
Yeah, I believe Angel's Friends was around the same time as Winx.
Okay. No.
Yeah, Totally Spies was from 2001. Which I guess it's not technically a magical girl show. It sort of is.
Do they transform?
I think so. I think they like can change their outfits quickly. But yeah, I think that is it then for our 90s episode. So I think we're going to push our discussion of Winx and Witch into the next episode, which is going to be our 2000s episode. Because I know y'all have a lot to say about Winx.
So much to say. If we get into Fate, we're going to be here all night, let me tell you.
Oh no, probably not good.
And I think it's hard to talk about Witch without talking about Winx, because they're so interconnected in terms of their, I mean, even up to lawsuits.
Yeah.
So,
teaser for our next episode.
yeah, if you want to hear about Disney trying to sue people, stay tuned for our next episode. I did watch a little bit of Witch in preparation. If I wasn't sure if we were going to get to it or not, so I watched the first 5 episodes and read like the first 3 chapters of the comic, and they're very different. It's like,
which one's better in your opinion?
I mean, it's hard to say because I've only ever seen all the way through the series, but I really liked what I read of the comic so far. I think it's a little bit more slow burn, a little less hyper. I mean, I really liked it so far, but fair warning, Witch is up to like 26 volumes in the US with more to come. So that thing's going to be over 30 volumes by the time it's done, which is insane. They've been releasing it since like 2017 here in the US.
That's so much.
I know. I just made an order where I caught up with like the last 5 volumes. I'm like, have I read them? No. Am I worried that if I don't just keep buying them, they'll go out of print and then I'll miss like 3 volumes and then be really upset? Yes. But like, I've also noticed they've gone up in price quite a bit. Like they were like $11 or $12 and now they're $15 or $16 per volume. So, but they are full color and you get 4 full chapters in each volume. So not a horrible deal for $15. Especially if you can find a Barnes & Noble coupon. So, all right. Well, let's give our customary send-off. So if you want to hear more of this podcast, you can find us on our home at Podbean or anywhere you listen to your favorite podcasts. And if you want to find out more from the Jewel Riders Archive, visit us at www.jewelridersarchive.com or on any social media at Jewel Riders or at Jewel Riders Archive. And as we like to say at the end of every episode, friends together, friends forever. All right, bye everyone. Have a great week and think of magical girls and all their adventures.